ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి, జేఈఈ అయినా, నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
Yes. Continuation to the last class. That is the mechanism of vision. Then how the image formation is taken place in the eye, how we are able to identify the particular object, what is the mechanism which is involved in the viewing of the object means. Just assume this is the visible field. This is the visible field. At first light is falls on conjunctiva. This is said to be as the conjunctiva. Later from the conjunctiva light is reflected onto the cornea. This is the conjunctiva. This is the cornea. At first light from the visible field is reaches to the conjunctiva. Later from the conjunctiva light is reflected onto the cornea. Later from the cornea through pupil light is reaches to lens. This is nothing but lens here. Through the pupil light is reaches to the lens at first. Again from the lens this light is reflected onto the both sides of the retina. Definitely onto the both sides of the retina this light is later reflected. Just assume this is the choroid, this is the retina of this side. Similarly in this side also this is the choroid, this is the retina. So definitely from the lens light is reflected onto the both sides of the retina. Specifically in the case of the retina, what are the three layers of the cells which are present? Bipolar neuron, this is the ganglionated cell. This is bipolar neuron, this is the photoreceptor cell. So this is the another photoreceptor cell. This is the bipolar neuron, this is the ganglionated cell. At first light which is reflected onto the retina, light which is reflected onto the retina, that at first passes through the ganglionated cell or over the ganglionated cell, later over the bipolar neuron, finally reaches to the photoreceptor cells. Definitely while that kind of the light is passes through ganglionated cells and bipolar neuron, that light is not gets recepted because photoreceptor pigments are not present in ganglionated cell as well as the bipolar neuron. So that only though light is at first passes over them, they are not able to receive that kind of the light rays. So whenever that light is reaches to photoreceptor cell, in photoreceptor cell, photoreceptor pigments are present. In the presence of that light, photoreceptor pigment, that is the rhodopsin, and iodopsin are at first dissociated into opsin and retinol. Definitely in the case of the photoreceptor pigment, two types of the substances are present. One is said to be as the opsin. This is the protein. Opsin is nothing but protein. Retinol is nothing but aldehyde form of vitamin A. Retinol nothing but aldehyde form of the vitamin A. Whenever the light is reaches to photoreceptor cell, in the presence of that light, photoreceptor pigment which is present in this cell is dissociated into opsin and retinol. By that way, this photoreceptor cells becomes elongated. Photoreceptor cells becomes elongated. Naturally, this opsin protein is always tightly attaches to retinol inside of the photoreceptor cell like this. Definitely this kind of the opsin is always connected to the retinol inside of the photoreceptor cell in an tightly contact. Whenever this kind of the retinol is dissociated from the opsin, then opsin becomes elongated. Opsin becomes elongated like this. That becomes elongated. By that way, photoreceptor cells are becomes elongated. By that way, membrane which is present in the photoreceptor cell allows inward movement of the sodium into them. Whenever this opsin is dissociated from the retinol, then this opsin structurally gets changes later, means that will becomes elongated. By that way, this photoreceptor cell becomes elongated. By that way, this membrane of the photoreceptor cell becomes very thin. By that way, inward movement of the sodium is taken place into that. That leads to depolarization in photoreceptor cell. The depolarization later involve in the generation of action potential. That action potential at first conducted to the bipolar neuron, later reaches to the ganglionated cell. From the ganglionated cell, that action potential later conducted to the optic nerve. Through the optic nerve, that is finally reaches to the occipital lobe of cerebrum, where in the occipital lobe of the cerebrum that information gets analyzed. Later, motor information is generated in occipital lobe of the cerebrum. Later, that information is conducted to the photoreceptor cell. According to that information, in photoreceptor cell, image is recorded that is responsible for the viewing of the object. At first, against to the light which is reaches to the photoreceptor cell, in photoreceptor cell, photoreceptor pigments are dissociated into the opsin and retinol. Later, opsin is structurally gets changes. That means that is gets elongated. By that way, this photoreceptor cell becomes elongated. By that way, its membrane is becomes very thin. By that way, inward movement of the sodium is taken place into that. That leads to depolarization at first in photoreceptor cell. That leads to the generation of the action potential later. That action potential at first conducted to the bipolar neuron, from where into ganglionated cell, later through the optic nerve, that will be reaches to the occipital lobe of the cerebrum, where visual centers are present. They analyze that information and later they may be synthesize the motor information. That motor information again conducted to the photoreceptor cell. According to that motor information in photoreceptor cell, this image is gets recorded, that is responsible for the viewing of the object. This is the mechanism of the vision. Next part which is present, next sense organ which is present in our body is the ear. Next well organized sense organ which is present in the human body, that is said to be as the ear. That is the ear. This is also called as statoacoustic. Statoacoustic organ. What is the meaning of this stato? Equilibrium or body balance. Definitely ear not only useful for the hearing of the sound, it's also useful for the maintenance of the body balance. Due to that reason, it is said to be as the statoacoustic organ. Stato means body balance, acoustic means listening or hearing. Definitely that is useful for the listening of the sound, that is useful for the hearing of the sound, as well as that is also useful for the maintenance of the body balance. Due to that reason, this is said to be as the statoacoustic organ. Again, in the ear of the person, what are the three principal portions are present? What are the three principal portions which are present means? First one is the external ear or outer ear. Second one is the middle ear or tympanic cavity. This is said to be as the tympanic cavity. Again, third one is the inner ear, or this is also called as the labyrinth. This is also called as the labyrinth. Again, in the case of the external ear, three principal portions are present. One is the external pinna. Second one is the external auditory meatus. Second one is the external auditory meatus. Third one is the tympanum or eardrum. Third one is the tympanum or eardrum. Again, in the case of the middle ear cavity, two portions are present. One is the ear ossicles, second one is the eustachian tubes. Second one is said to be as the eustachian tube. Again, in the case of the inner ear, also three portions are present. One is the cochlea, second one is the semicircular canals, third one is the vestibule. So definitely in the case of the inner ear, that is the labyrinth. Again, three portions are present. One is the cochlea, second semicircular canal, third one is the vestibule. So definitely, how many number of the ear ossicles are present in one side means 3. In one side of the ear 3, in both sides they are 6 in number. That means 3 into 2 that equal to 6. In one side of the ear there are 3. In 2 ears definitely they are 6 in number. How many number of the eustachian tubes are present totally means 2 in one side of ear, totally they are 4 in number. Definitely 4 in number. How many number of the semicircular canals are present means here also totally they are 6 in number. So in that way, in the external ear, external pinna, external auditory meatus, tympanum or eardrum are present. In middle ear or in tympanic cavity, ear ossicle, eustachian tubes are present. In inner ear or labyrinth, cochlea, semicircular canals, vestibule are present. Again, of that first one is the external ear. In the case of the external ear, again the first portion is said to be as the external pinna. In the case of the external ear, again the first portion which is present, that is said to be as the external pinna. This is the external pinna. This is made up of with the elastic cartilage. It is made up of with the elastic cartilage. So that only it is with the elasticity in nature. Again, this kind of the external pinna is covered with the skin. Definitely it is covered with the skin. External pinna is covered with the skin. It is a flap-like. It is a flap-like. It is a lid-like structure which is useful for receiving the sound waves in all direction. For getting the receiving of the sound wave in all direction, this kind of the external pinna principally useful. So definitely it is only present in the case of the mammal, means humans also mammals. So that only in the case of the human, external pinna is present. That is the characteristic feature of the mammal. This external pinna principally useful to receive to collect sound waves from all direction. Later, external penna is opens into curved tube. This curved tube is said to be as the external auditory meters. External auditory meters. This external penna gets opens into a curved tube. Means definitely it is with a long and curve. It is with a bending nature, that is said to be as the curvature. Definitely external auditory meters is with the curve slightly. This external auditory meters extends up to the tympanum. This is said to be as the tympanum or eardrum. Definitely it is extends up to the tympanum or eardrum. This is said to be as the tympanum or eardrum. This is the last part of the external ear. Tympanum is the last part of the external ear. Definitely in the case of the external pinna, as well as in the case of the external auditory meters, in the case of the external pinna as well as in external auditory meters, specialized glands are present for secretion of the cerumen. They are said to be as the ceruminous glands. These are said to be as the ceruminous glands. These are the modified sweat glands. Definitely sweat glands which are present in our skin or gets modified to form the ceruminous gland. In your textbook, they may be given as ceruminous glands or modified sebaceous gland. But there is the correction as per NCERT. As per NCERT concept, ceruminous glands are modified sweat gland, but not sebaceous gland. In your textbook, there is the wrong concept. That is the ceruminous glands are modified sebaceous gland. That is not correct. Definitely ceruminous glands are modified sweat glands or sudoriferous. Sudoriferous glands. Definitely sweat glands are nothing but modified sudoriferous glands. What is the use of that kind of these ceruminous glands means? They secrete earwax. They secrete earwax or cerumen. Definitely ceruminous glands which are present in external pinna as well as in external auditory meters. These are principally useful to secrete the earwax or the cerumen. That is principally useful to collect dust particles which may be tries to enter into inner ear through the sound wave. Definitely in the case of the external auditory meters, hairs also present. Hairs also present. This hairs as well as cerumen, both of them are useful to filter dust particles which may be tries to enter into the inner ear through sound wave. So definitely these are principally useful to filter dust particles which maybe tries to enter into inner ear through the sound wave. Next, when we observe the tympanum or eardrum, this is the thin and semi-transparent. This is the thin and semi-transparent structure. Semi-transparent means that may not 100% allows the pass of the light through it, that may not 100% opaque in nature. That is not 100% transparent, that is not 100% opaque. Means partially it allows the pass of the light through it, partially that may be allows the pass of the light through it. So that only that is said to be as the semi-transparent. Again, eardrum or tympanum principally made up of the connective tissue. It is principally made up of the connective tissue. Definitely this is made up of the connective tissue. Outerly, this tympanum is covered with the skin. Outerly tympanum is covered with the skin. This is the skin here. Outerly tympanum is covered with the skin. Innerly tympanum is covered with the mucus. This is covered with the mucous membrane. Definitely innerly that kind of the tympanum is covered with the mucous membrane. Overall this tympanum is made up of with the connective tissue. This is nothing but tympanum. This is principally made up of with the connective tissue. It is principally made up of with the connective tissue. Outer surface of this tympanum is covered with the skin. Inner surface of this tympanum is covered with the mucous membrane. Next, what is the use of the tympanum? It principally useful to generate mechanical vibrations against to the sound vibration. Definitely whenever the sound vibrations are reaches to the tympanum, against to that kind of the sound vibration, this tympanum shows the vibration. By that way mechanical vibrations are gets generated. So later this tympanum is connected to middle ear. Tympanum is connected to the middle ear. This is said to be as the middle ear. This middle ear is also called as tympanic cavity. This is said to be as the tympanic cavity. Why we call it is the tympanic cavity? It is filled with air, but not with fluid. Middle ear is filled with air. So, air-filled cavity which is present in our ear is said to be as the middle ear. That is the tympanic cavity. Tympanum is differed from the tympanic cavity. Tympanum nothing but eardrum. Middle ear is filled with air. That is said to be as the tympanic cavity. Again, in the case of the middle ear, earosicles are present. Earosicles are present. Of that, this is said to be as the first earosicle, that is the largest earosicle. This is said to be as the malleus or hammer bone. This is said to be as the. This malleus is modified articular bone. Definitely it is a modified articular bone. The base of the malleus is attaches to the tympanum. This is the base, this is the head. In the case of the malleus bone, this is said to be as the base. This is the head. Head of the malleus is always attaches to head of the middle bone, that is said to be as the incus. Definitely head of the malleus is always attaches to head of the incus. This is said to be as the middle bone, that is the incus bone or anvil bone. This is modified quadrate. Incus bone is principally formed due to the modification of the quadrate bone. Later incus is attaches to the smallest bone, that is said to be as the stapes. This incus bone is later attaches to the smallest bone, that is said to be as the stapes bone or stirrup bone. This is a modified hyomandibular bone. Malleus bone is the largest ear-ossicle, that is said to be as the hammer bone, that is formed due to the modification of the articular bone. Incus is the middle bone, that's also called as the anvil bone, that is formed due to the modification of the quadrate bone. Stapes or stirrup bone is smallest bone in our body. Of the 206 bones, smallest bone is said to be as the stapes bone or stirrup bone, that is formed due to the modification of the hyomandibular bone. So definitely here, head of the malleus is attaches to the or articulated with the head of the incus. Again, this tail of the incus is articulated with the head of the stapes. Again, definitely this kind of the stapes bone is finally attaches to bony partition which is present between the middle ear and inner ear. Just assume this is said to be as the inner ear. This is the inner ear. This is the inner ear. Definitely between the middle ear and inner ear, this partition which is present, that is said to be as the bony partition. Definitely on the bony partition, two openings are present. They are covered with membrane. Two openings are present, but they are covered with membrane. Membrane covering openings are present on the bony partition. So of this membrane covering openings, nothing but just assume this is the opening. If it is covered with very thin membrane, if this opening is covered with very thin membrane, that is said to be as the membrane covering openings. Of that upper opening which is present, to which stapes is attaches, that opening is said to be as the oval window, that is said to be as the oval window or fenestra. ovalis. That is said to be as the oval window or fenestra ovalis. Definitely to that kind of the oval window, stapes bone is attaches. Stapes bone is attaches. Again another window which is present, that is said to be as the round window. Another opening is said to be as the round window or fenestra rotundus. That is said to be as the fenestra rotundus. Definitely the bony partition which is present between the middle ear and inner ear, on this bony partition two membrane covering openings are present. Of that upper opening is said to be as the oval window or fenestra ovalis. Lower window is said to be as the round window or fenestra rotundus. To that kind of the oval window, this stapes bone or stirrup bone is attaches. Definitely, what is the significance of ear ossicle? Ear ossicle is principally useful to increase amplitude of mechanical wave which may be passes towards the inner ear. Definitely they may be acts as the speakers. Like that of the speakers, they increase the amplitude of the mechanical wave which may be passes towards the inner ear for the listening of the sound. Definitely speakers are always helpful to increase the intensity of this sound. Like that way, ear ossicles are principally useful to increase the amplitude of mechanical wave which maybe gets reaches towards the inner ear for listening. Again, in addition to that, one pair of tubes which may be connect middle ear with nasopharynx. One pair of the ducts which may be connect the middle ear with nasopharynx. That kind of the ducts are said to be as the eustachian tubes. Definitely on either side of the tympanum, whatever the tubes which may be gets extend, which may be connect the nasopharynx with the middle ear, that kind of the tubes are said to be as the Eustachian tubes. What is the use of the Eustachian tube? Means they causes the equal pressure on either side of the tympanum while we are moving our head to side. We are able to listen the word. We are able to listen the words very easily, because during the movement of the head from side to side, for proper listening of the sound, this Eustachian tubes causes the equal pressure on either side of the Eustachian, on either side of the tympanum. By that way, though we are move our head to side, we are able to listen the words uniformly. So definitely we can say Eustachian tubes always causes equal pressure on either side of the tympanum, so that only while we move our head to side, we are able to listen the words uniformly or very easily. Next to third type of the structure which is present in our ear, that is said to be as the inner ear. Third type of the structure which is present is said to be as the inner ear. This is the middle ear. third structure which is present in our ear, that is said to be as the inner ear, or this is also called as the labyrinth. This is said to be as the labyrinth. Inner ear is
ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.